The Victorian government's road user charge has been ruled unconstitutional. My friend Chris van der Stok, along with Kathleen Davis, both EV owners, took the Victorian government to the Federal High Court, claiming that their road user charge was unconstitutional. Well, the Federal High Court passed down its judgment this week, and they found that it was unconstitutional. So they ruled basically that the tax, and it was a tax, is not a licence or a permit fee, which is what the Victorian government, state governments, can charge. They can't charge taxes. That's the prerogative of the federal government. But the Victorian government tried to argue that it wasn't a tax, it was a licence or permit fee, but they're actually charging per kilometre travelled, and it can only be imposed by the federal government. So this ruling was a majority ruling of the full bench, which is 7 judges, but they voted 4-3. So there was 3 people in there who thought that it was perfectly okay. But this now means that there is a legal precedent, and it makes it almost impossible for any other state to initiate a road user charge. So hopefully this is going to stop discouraging people from purchasing an EV, which is what it was possibly doing in Victoria. And people have argued that EVs must pay their fair share of upkeep of our roads, which is fine. But you have to realise that the federal fuel excise has not been used for that purpose since 1959, and it's just gone into consolidated revenue. So the EV tax in Victoria, that was the same. It wasn't put towards roads, it was just put into consolidated revenue. So now we'll be looking at the federal government introducing its own road user charge at some time in the future, but it's way too early for Australia. We haven't got 8% of the vehicles sold here being EVs, so we've got to wait a bit. And when it's introduced, it needs to be national. Because one of the problems with the Victorian tax was if you drive 100 kilometres in the year in Victoria and 10,000 kilometres around Australia, you got charged the whole lot as though you'd driven in Victoria. So, yeah, introduce it sometime in the future, but it needs to be for internal combustion engine vehicles first, possibly before EVs are taxed, in order to try and encourage the move over to electric vehicles, especially seeing as internal combustion engine emissions contribute to a great degree of poor health and death of so many people, and that actually goes into the health budget. So what will happen to the monies already collected by the state, including penalties? Yeah, well, it's unlikely to be refunded. Historically, taxes in the past are not refunded, as the Commonwealth or the state will pass legislation preventing it. Personally, I think this is just typical of governments. We get taxed illegally, but they're going to keep it anyway. And businesses that charge illegally are held to account and made to refund the money. Well, them's the breaks, I suppose. But I would like to congratulate both Chris van der Stok and Kathleen Davis on having the gumption, now there's a good English word for you, the gumption to take the Victorian government to the Federal High Court and winning their case. The High Court also ruled that the Victorian government has got to pay their costs. Yes. So hopefully Chris and Kathleen aren't going to be so out of pocket as they were going to be. Thanks very much for watching. Please don't forget, can you click that like and subscribe buttons below? And in the description below, there are some links to my Tesla referral and Ko-fi where you can help support me. And I'll see you all very soon.